The cold wind howled across the dead planet as Dr. Amanda Carter pulled her coat tighter around her body. The sky above was gray and empty, with no sun visible through the thick clouds. This world had been dead for thousands of years, but something important lay buried beneath the frozen ground. Amanda looked at her team members who stood around the dig site. Dr. Ben Hughes was studying his scanner, his breath coming out in white puffs in the cold air. Lieutenant Katie Walsh kept watch with her rifle ready, her eyes moving across the empty landscape. The two alien members of their team stood nearby, looking very different from the humans. HFY was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal that caught the dim light and threw it back in rainbow colors. The alien had no face like humans did, but spoke through vibrations that their translation devices turned into words. Thorak was completely different. Standing over 7 feet tall with thick gray skin and muscles that could crush metal, his people were known as great warriors across the galaxy. The readings are getting stronger, Ben said, looking up from his scanner. There is definitely something big down there. The metal readings are off the charts. Amanda nodded and walked to the edge of the hole they had been digging for 3 weeks. The excavation robots had worked day and night to clear away tons of ice and rock. What they found underneath made no sense at all. It looks like a ship, Katie said, climbing down into the hole to get a better look. But I have never seen anything like this before. The object buried in the ground was huge, much bigger than any ship Amanda had ever seen. The hull was smooth and black, made of some kind of metal that did not match anything in the galactic databases. Strange symbols covered parts of the surface, but they were too worn to read clearly. HFY moved closer to the edge, the crystal body making soft chiming sounds. This technology predates all known civilizations in our records. The atomic structure of the hull suggests it is over 50,000 years old. That is impossible, Thorak rumbled, his deep voice carrying easily in the thin air. No race in the galaxy had spaceflight technology that long ago. The oldest spacefaring civilization is only 12,000 years old. Amanda felt something strange as she looked at the buried ship. There was something familiar about it, though she could not explain why. She had spent her whole career studying ancient alien ruins, but this felt different somehow. We need to find a way inside, she said, sliding down into the excavation pit. Ben, can your scanners detect any openings? Ben followed her down, his equipment beeping as he moved it along the hull. There should be an airlock somewhere around here. The ship appears to be intact, which is amazing after all this time. They spent the next 2 hours searching the exposed sections of the hull. The excavation robots continued their work, revealing more of the massive vessel. It was easily 3 times the size of the largest human battleships, and its design was unlike anything in the galactic fleet records. Katie found the airlock first. Over here, she called out, waving the others over. This looks like some kind of door. The airlock was sealed tight with no obvious way to open it. The surface around it was covered with symbols that looked almost familiar to Amanda, though she could not place where she might have seen them before. These symbols, Amanda said, running her gloved hand over the markings. They look almost like ancient Earth writing, but that cannot be right. HFY moved closer, the crystal body shifting colors as the alien examined the symbols. They do not match any known language in our databases. The pattern suggests a complex written system, possibly phonetic in nature. Thorak crossed his massive arms and stared at the door. How do we get inside? My people could cut through the hull, but that might damage whatever is within. Wait, Ben said, pulling out a different scanner. I am detecting atmosphere on the other side. The ship is not just intact, it is still sealed and pressurized after all this time. Amanda felt her heart racing. A ship this old should be nothing but empty metal, but somehow it still had air inside. She pressed her hand against the symbols on the airlock, trying to make sense of the strange writing. The moment her palm touched the hull, everything changed. The symbols began to glow with soft blue light, and the airlock made a deep humming sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The massive door split down the middle and slid open with barely a whisper, revealing a corridor filled with clean air and gentle lighting. Impossible, HFY chimed, the crystal body flashing bright colors. The ship responded to human touch. This should not be possible. Katie had her rifle ready, but Amanda was already moving toward the open door. The corridor beyond looked like it belonged on a ship built yesterday, not 50,000 years ago. The walls were smooth and white, with strips of light running along the ceiling. The air that flowed out was warm and breathable. "Amanda, wait," Ben called after her, but she was already stepping through the airlock. The moment she entered the ship, more lights came on throughout the corridor. She could hear the soft hum of machinery starting up somewhere deep inside the vessel. Behind her, the others followed cautiously. "The ship is activating," Katie said, her voice tight with concern. "Amanda, whatever you did, it woke something up." Amanda walked slowly down the corridor, her footsteps echoing off the walls. At the end of the hall, she could see another door, this one marked with symbols that looked even more familiar. As she got closer, she realized with shock that she could almost read them. "Ben," she called back to her friend, "bring your translation equipment up here. I think these symbols are some kind of ancient human writing." "That is impossible," Ben said, joining her at the door. "Humans have only been in space for 300 years. We could not have built something like this." But as Amanda looked at the symbols, she knew somehow that they were connected to her people. The ship had opened for her touch, and now it was calling to her in a language she should not understand but somehow did. The door ahead bore a single word in the strange script, and Amanda knew without translation what it meant: bridge. Amanda pushed through the door marked bridge and stepped into a room that took her breath away. The chamber was enormous, with a curved ceiling that showed the stars above the dead planet. Banks of controls lined the walls, all glowing with soft light. And in the center stood a chair that seemed to be waiting for someone. "This is incredible," Ben whispered behind her, his scanner forgotten in his hand. "The technology here is beyond anything we have in the fleet." HFY moved into the room, crystal body chiming softly. "These systems are active and functional. After 50,000 years, this should not be possible. The power source alone would require technology we do not possess." Thorax stood near the door, his warrior instincts keeping him alert for danger. "Something is wrong here. Ships do not stay functional for so long without maintenance. This feels like a trap." Katie had her rifle lowered but ready. "Amanda, be careful. We do not know what we are dealing with here." But Amanda felt drawn to the center chair like it was calling to her. She walked slowly across the bridge, her footsteps echoing in the quiet space. The controls around her hummed with power, and displays showed information in the same strange writing she had seen before. As she got closer to the chair, more systems came online. Holographic displays appeared in the air, showing star charts and data streams that moved too fast to follow. The entire bridge seemed to be waking up around her. "Amanda, stop," Ben called out, worry clear in his voice. "We should study this more carefully before touching anything." But Amanda was already reaching for the chair. The moment her hand touched the smooth metal, everything changed completely. Light exploded around her, not painful, but overwhelming. The bridge filled with a presence that felt ancient and wise. And suddenly Amanda was not alone in her own mind. A voice spoke to her, not through her ears but directly into her thoughts. "Welcome home, daughter of Earth," the voice said, warm and familiar like an old friend. "I have been waiting so long for one of you to return." Amanda gasped and tried to step back but found she could not move. The presence in her mind was gentle but powerful, filling her with knowledge and memories that were not her own. "Who are you?" she managed to say out loud. "I am Navigator," the voice replied. "I am the consciousness of this vessel, the horizon's edge. I was created by your people long ago, when humanity walked among the stars as teachers and guardians." Behind Amanda, her team members watched in shock as she stood frozen next to the captain's chair, her eyes wide and unfocused. Holographic displays swirled around her, showing images of star systems and alien worlds. "What is happening to her?" Katie demanded, raising her rifle toward the ceiling as if she could shoot the invisible presence. HFY moved closer, crystal form flashing bright colors. "She is interfacing with the ship's computer system, but this should be impossible without proper neural implants." Thorax stepped forward, his massive frame tense for battle. "Amanda, can you hear us?" But Amanda was lost in the flood of information flowing into her mind. Navigator was showing her the truth about humanity's past, and it changed everything she thought she knew about her people. She saw humans who lived among the stars thousands of years before Earth's recorded history began. They had ships that could cross the galaxy in days, cities that floated in space, and knowledge that surpassed anything the current galactic races possessed. These ancient humans were explorers and teachers, helping younger civilizations learn and grow. "We called ourselves the predecessors," Navigator explained as the images flowed through Amanda's mind. We seeded knowledge across 1,000 worlds, built the first jump gates, and established the principles that became galactic law. But what happened to them? Amanda asked silently. Where did they go? The images in her mind shifted, showing darker scenes. Massive ships that moved between galaxies, consuming entire star systems to fuel their journey. Worlds stripped bare of all life, left as empty husks drifting in space. The Devourers came from beyond our galaxy, Navigator continued. They consumed everything in their path, growing stronger with each world they destroyed. The predecessors fought them for 1,000 years, but conventional weapons could not stop them. Amanda saw the final battle. Humans in ships like Horizon's Edge fighting desperately against enemies that seemed unstoppable. The ancient humans were skilled and brave, but they were vastly outnumbered. The predecessors made the ultimate sacrifice, Navigator said, sadness flowing through the mental connection. They opened a gateway to another dimension and led the Devourers through it, sealing themselves away to save all life in this galaxy. But some stayed behind, Amanda realized, the knowledge appearing in her mind as if it had always been there. Yes, Navigator confirmed. A few chose to remain, to watch and wait. They scattered across the galaxy, hiding their ships and technology, waiting for their descendants to rediscover their heritage. Amanda felt tears running down her cheeks as she understood the truth. Humanity had not been lucky to advance so quickly in space. They had not been surprisingly good at understanding alien technology by chance. They carried the genetic memory of the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known. The ship responds to you because you carry their DNA, Navigator explained. All humans do, though most have forgotten. The neural pathways still exist, waiting to be awakened. Around Amanda, her team members watched as the holographic displays changed to show Earth's solar system, then expanded to show human colonies throughout local space. She has been standing there for 10 minutes, Ben said, his voice tight with worry. Should we try to break the connection? Do not interrupt, HFY warned, crystal body pulsing with urgent colors. The data streams are incredible. This ship contains knowledge that could advance galactic civilization by centuries. Thorak moved to stand beside Katie, both of them ready to act if Amanda was in danger. But she was not in danger. She was coming home to a heritage she had never known existed. Why now? Amanda asked Navigator. Why are you revealing this to me? The ship's consciousness grew more serious, and Amanda felt a chill run through her mind. Because the Devourers are returning. The dimensional barrier is weakening. They remember this galaxy and the life it contains, and they hunger for it. How long do we have? Perhaps 50 years, perhaps less. The signs are already appearing at the galaxy's edge. The predecessors knew this day would come, and they prepared for it. Amanda felt Navigator's presence reaching deeper into her mind, awakening pathways that had been dormant her entire life. Knowledge flowed into her consciousness, information about technology and tactics and the location of other hidden ships. The network is vast, Navigator told her. Hundreds of ships like this one, thousands of automated defense platforms, weapon systems that can crack planets, all waiting for humans to reclaim their birthright and defend the galaxy once more. Amanda opened her eyes and found herself looking at her worried team members. But now she saw them differently. Ben was still her friend and colleague, but she also saw him as a descendant of the greatest explorers in galactic history. Katie was a soldier, but she carried the genes of warriors who had fought to save all life in the universe. Amanda, Ben said, relief clear in his voice. Are you all right? You are not responding to us. She looked around the bridge with new understanding. This was not just an ancient artifact they had discovered. This was humanity's inheritance. A gift from ancestors who had sacrificed everything to give their descendants a chance to survive what was coming. I am fine, she said, though her voice sounded strange even to herself. But everything we thought we knew about humanity is wrong. Amanda turned to face her team, but the words she needed to explain what she had learned seemed impossible to say. How could she tell them that everything the galaxy believed about human history was wrong? How could she explain that her people were not the youngest race to reach the stars but the oldest? Amanda, Ben said, stepping closer with concern in his eyes. What happened to you? You were connected to something for almost 15 minutes. She looked at her friend and saw him with new understanding. Ben carried the genetic memory of explorers who had mapped the galaxy when other races were still learning to make fire. His quick mind and natural curiosity were not accidents of birth but inheritance from the greatest scientists who had ever lived. The ship has an artificial intelligence, she said slowly, trying to find simple words for an incredible truth. It calls itself Navigator, and it has been waiting for humans to find it. HFY moved closer, crystal body flashing with rapid colors that showed excitement and fear. An AI that has remained functional for 50,000 years would represent a breakthrough in consciousness technology. Our most advanced systems rarely last more than a few centuries. Thorak crossed his massive arms, his warrior instincts clearly troubled. Why would an ancient AI wait specifically for humans? According to galactic records, your people only achieved spaceflight 300 years ago. Amanda felt Navigator's presence at the edge of her mind, ready to share more knowledge if she asked for it. But she knew her team needed to understand the basics first, and the truth was almost too big to believe. Because we built it, she said quietly. Humans built this ship along with many others like it. We were not the last race to reach the stars. We were among the first. The silence that followed was broken only by the quiet hum of the ship's systems around them. Ben stared at her with his mouth open, while Katie lowered her rifle completely, too shocked to maintain her guard position. That is impossible, HFY chimed, the crystal form turning dark colors that indicated confusion. Our historical records go back 12,000 years. There is no mention of an advanced human civilization. Amanda walked to one of the control panels, and it responded to her touch by displaying a star map that showed the galaxy as it existed millennia ago. Worlds that were now dead or empty showed as thriving centers of civilization, connected by trade routes and communication networks. Navigator calls them the predecessors, she explained, watching as the holographic display showed human ships moving between star systems. They explored the galaxy when other races were still developing basic tools. They built the first jump gates, established the foundations of galactic law, and helped younger civilizations learn to reach for the stars. The display changed to show images of ancient humans working alongside primitive versions of modern galactic races. Amanda saw her ancestors teaching early Viridians how to focus their crystal growth, helping young Bruthan learn to control their strength for construction instead of destruction. If this is true, Thorak rumbled, his deep voice filled with wonder, then humans were our teachers. My people's greatest legends speak of wise visitors who came from the stars to share knowledge. Ben moved to another control panel, and it lit up at his approach just as Amanda's had. The ship is responding to me too, he said with amazement. But I do not understand how this is possible. All humans carry the genetic memory, Amanda explained, drawing on Navigator's knowledge. The neural pathways that allow us to interface with predecessor technology are built into our DNA. That is why humans adapt so quickly to alien environments, why we seem to understand advanced technology intuitively. Katie joined them at the displays, her soldier's mind already thinking tactically. If humans had this level of technology, what happened to them? Why did they disappear? Amanda felt Navigator's sadness flow through her mind as she prepared to share the darkest part of the story. The display changed again, this time showing the space between galaxies where massive shapes moved like living shadows. They were called the Devourers, she said, watching her team's faces as the holographic display showed the ancient enemy. They came from beyond our galaxy, consuming entire star systems to fuel their expansion across the universe. The images showed worlds being stripped of all matter, their substance absorbed by creatures that seemed to be made of living darkness. Solar systems went dark as the Devourers fed on the energy of stars themselves. The predecessors fought them for over 1,000 years, Amanda continued, her voice heavy with inherited memory. They built weapons that could shatter moons, ships that moved faster than light, defense networks that spanned entire sectors. But none of it was enough. HFY's crystal form had turned pale, the colors muted with fear. These Devourers consumed entire star systems. How does one fight an enemy like that? You cannot, Amanda said simply. The predecessors learned that conventional warfare was useless against an enemy that grew stronger with each victory, so they made a different choice. The display showed the final battle, human fleets engaging the Devourers at the galaxy's edge while other ships worked frantically on some kind of massive construction project. Amanda watched her ancestors fighting desperately to buy time for a plan that would cost them everything. They built a dimensional gateway, she explained, feeling tears on her cheeks as she shared Navigator's memories. The predecessors opened a passage to a parallel dimension and led the entire Devourer swarm through it. Then they sealed the gateway from the other side, trapping themselves with the enemy to save all life in this galaxy. The silence that followed was profound. Even Thorak, whose people were known for their warrior culture, seemed stunned by the magnitude of the sacrifice. They gave up everything, Katie said quietly. Their civilization, their lives, their entire future, just to save races they had never met. Not everything, Amanda corrected, feeling Navigator's presence grow stronger in her mind. Some stayed behind. A few chose to remain in this dimension, to hide the predecessor technology and wait for humanity's descendants to rediscover their heritage. Ben was studying the technical displays, his scientific mind racing to understand what he was seeing. These ships, the ones that stayed behind, they have been hidden all this time. Hundreds of them, Amanda confirmed, drawing on Navigator's vast database. Ships like Horizon's Edge, automated defense platforms, weapon systems capable of defending entire sectors. All waiting for humans to awaken their genetic memories and claim their inheritance. Zexai moved closer to the displays, crystal form flickering with rapid calculations. If humans possess this technology, it would shift the balance of power in the galaxy completely. The Galactic Council would need to be informed immediately. Amanda felt a chill of warning from Navigator, and she understood that not everyone would welcome the news of humanity's true heritage. Some races had grown comfortable with their positions of power and influence. The revelation that humans were the galaxy's original teachers and protectors would threaten established hierarchies. "There is more," she said, her voice heavy with dread. Navigator did not wake up just to share ancient history. The dimensional barrier is weakening. The Devourers are finding ways to probe back into our reality. The display changed to show recent astronomical data, gravitational anomalies at the galaxy's rim that match the signature of Devourer scouts. "How long do we have?" Katie asked, her military training making her focus on the tactical situation. Amanda consulted Navigator's calculations, feeling the AI's ancient wisdom flow through her consciousness. Perhaps 50 years, maybe less. The signs are already appearing, but most galactic observatories do not know what to look for. Thorak stepped closer to the displays, his massive frame tense with the prospect of battle. "Then we must prepare. If these Devourers return, the galaxy will need every advantage we can find. That is why the predecessor network exists," Amanda explained. The ancient humans knew this day would come. They prepared weapons and defenses that can fight the Devourers, but only their descendants can activate them. She looked around at her team, seeing them not just as colleagues but as representatives of the galaxy that would soon face its greatest threat. Ben with his scientific curiosity, Katie with her tactical mind, even Zexai and Thorak with their different perspectives and abilities. "Navigator wants to show us more," she said, feeling the AI's eagerness to share its knowledge. "But first, we need to decide what we do with this information. The moment we leave this ship, everything changes." Amanda stood at the center of the bridge, feeling the weight of Navigator's knowledge pressing against her mind. The AI was showing her something new now, something that made her stomach clench with fear and responsibility. "There is a choice you must make," Navigator said, its voice echoing in her thoughts. "The predecessor network can be awakened, but doing so will have consequences that cannot be undone." Around her, the holographic displays shifted to show a map of the entire galaxy. Hundreds of points of light appeared, scattered across every spiral arm and outer rim territory. Each point represented a hidden predecessor installation waiting to be activated. "What kind of consequences?" Amanda asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Activating the network will send a signal across dimensions," Navigator explained, its ancient consciousness heavy with regret. "The Devourers will know that this galaxy is inhabited and defended again. They will come with everything they have." Ben was studying his scanner, trying to make sense of readings that were beyond anything in current galactic science. "Amanda, who are you talking to? We can hear your side of the conversation, but nothing else." She realized that Navigator was speaking only to her, using the genetic interface that connected her consciousness to the ship's AI. Her team could see the displays and feel the ship responding to human presence, but they could not hear the ancient intelligence that had been waiting 50,000 years for this moment. "Navigator is asking me to make a decision," she said, turning to face her friends. "We can activate the entire predecessor network, but it will also alert the Devourers that we are ready to fight them." Zexai moved closer, crystal form pulsing with urgent colors. You speak of activating hundreds of ancient installations. The power required for such a task would be enormous. What if something goes wrong? Katie had her rifle ready again, her soldier's instincts warning her of approaching danger. Amanda, we have company. My motion sensors are picking up multiple ships entering orbit. Through the bridge's viewing ports, they could see lights moving across the starfield above the dead planet. Ships were arriving, some displaying the peaceful blue signals of scientific vessels, others showing the red warnings of military craft. Word has spread, Thorak rumbled, his warrior's eyes tracking the incoming fleet. The galactic community knows about our discovery. Amanda felt Navigator's concern flowing through their mental connection. The AI had hoped for more time to prepare, but news of the ancient ship had reached the wrong ears too quickly. Some come seeking knowledge and partnership, Navigator told her. Others come to claim what they believe belongs to them. The ship's sensors can distinguish between their intentions. On the holographic displays, the approaching vessels were marked with different colors. About half showed green markers indicating peaceful intent, but too many were marked in red for Amanda's comfort. They want the technology, Ben said, understanding the situation immediately. Some of those ships belong to races that have held power in the galaxy for thousands of years. They will not want to give that up. Katie moved to one of the control panels and it responded to her touch by showing detailed scans of the incoming fleet. 12 ships total. 6 are science vessels from the Galactic Council, but the others are military. 3 Viridian crystal ships, 2 Bruthan battlecruisers, and 1 I do not recognize. Amanda consulted Navigator's vast database and felt a chill of recognition. That unknown ship belongs to the Shadows, she said quietly. They are a race that prefers to work behind the scenes, manipulating galactic politics for their own benefit. Zexhi's crystal form flashed bright alarm colors. The Shadows do not involve themselves in archaeological discoveries unless there is significant power to be gained. If they are here, it means they already know more about this situation than they should. Thorak had moved to what appeared to be a weapons control station, and it had activated at his approach. These systems are responding to me as well, he said with surprise. But I am not human. Navigator's voice spoke in Amanda's mind with what might have been amusement. The predecessors designed their systems to recognize not just genetic markers but moral character. Your people were among the first to learn from ancient humanity, and some of you carry traces of the original neural patterns. The first of the approaching ships was now close enough for direct communication. Amanda watched as a holographic transmission appeared on the bridge, showing the face of Admiral Kane from the Terran Defense Force. Dr. Carter, the Admiral said, his expression tense with urgency. We need to establish a secure connection immediately. There are forces moving in this sector that consider your discovery a threat to galactic stability. Before Amanda could respond, another transmission cut into the first. This one showed a Viridian crystal being whose faceted form was darker than Zexhi's, indicating age and authority. Human vessel, the Viridian Elder transmitted. You have awakened technology that predates current galactic law. By rights of archaeological precedent, this discovery falls under Council jurisdiction. More transmissions followed in rapid succession. Bruthan war leaders demanding access to weapons technology, shadow agents speaking in coded language about maintaining galactic balance, and scientists from a dozen races pleading for the chance to study predecessor systems. They all want what we have found, Katie observed, checking her weapon's charge level, but none of them understand what it really means. Amanda felt Navigator growing more agitated as the transmissions continued. The AI had been programmed by beings who valued wisdom and sacrifice above power and greed, and it was disturbed by what it sensed from some of the approaching ships. The ship will not allow its systems to be misused, Navigator warned her. If threatened with capture or forced boarding, Horizon's Edge will initiate complete destruction rather than let its technology fall into unworthy hands. How much time do we have? Amanda asked, both aloud for her team and silently to the AI. Ben was monitoring the scanner readings from the approaching fleet. The first ships will be in transporter range in 20 minutes. If any of them have boarding pods, they could reach us even sooner. Zexhi had moved to a communications panel that responded to the alien's crystal touch. I am receiving coded transmissions on Viridian emergency frequencies. My People's Council of Elders has declared this site a priority archaeological zone. They are sending additional ships. As are mine, Thorak added grimly. Bruthen High Command considers ancient weapons technology a matter of tribal security. They will not allow other races to claim exclusive access. Amanda realized that her discovery was about to trigger a crisis that could destabilize the entire galaxy. Every major race wanted access to predecessor technology, but none of them understood the true threat it was designed to fight. "Navigator," she said silently, "what happens if I refuse to activate the network?" "Then the Devourers will return to an unprepared galaxy," the AI replied sadly. "Current galactic technology cannot fight them. Without the predecessor systems, all life in this galaxy will be consumed within a few years of their arrival. And if I do activate it, the network will defend against the Devourers, but the signal will bring them immediately. Instead of 50 years to prepare, you will have perhaps 5. Amanda looked around the bridge at her team and friends, seeing the trust in their eyes even as chaos erupted around them. Ben believed in her scientific judgment. Katie trusted her leadership under pressure. And even Zexhai and Thorak were looking to her for guidance in a situation beyond their experience. "There is another factor to consider," Navigator added, its ancient voice heavy with new urgency. "The approaching shadow vessel carries weapons specifically designed to penetrate predecessor shields. They have been preparing for this day far longer than anyone realizes." Through the viewing ports, Amanda could see the shadow ship moving into position above them, its dark hull nearly invisible against the star field. Whatever happened next, she knew that her decision in the next few minutes would determine not just the fate of her team, but the future of every living being in the galaxy. "Amanda," Katie said quietly, "whatever you are going to do, decide quickly. I count at least 6 ships powering weapon systems." Amanda closed her eyes and felt Navigator's vast consciousness flowing through her mind. The weight of decision pressed down on her like the gravity of a collapsing star. Around her, the bridge hummed with ancient power, while overhead, ships from across the galaxy prepared for battle over technology they did not understand. "Show me how to do it," she said silently to Navigator, feeling the AI's approval wash through their connection. "The activation requires more than just genetic compatibility," Navigator explained. "You must prove your worthiness by making the same choice the predecessors made. Are you willing to sacrifice everything to protect life you have never met?" Amanda opened her eyes and looked at her team. Ben was monitoring the approaching ships, his face pale with worry. Katie had her rifle ready, though they all knew it would be useless against military vessels. Zexhai and Thorak stood together, their different races united by shared concern for what was about to happen. "I need to activate the network," she told them, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "But there is something important you all need to understand first." She walked to the central command chair, and the moment she sat down, the entire bridge transformed around them. Holographic displays expanded in all directions, showing real-time data from hidden installations across the galaxy. Her team gasped as they saw the true scope of what the predecessors had left behind. "This is incredible," Ben breathed, staring at technical readouts that were centuries beyond current science. "There are installations in every major star system, defense platforms around inhabited worlds we did not even know were protected." Navigator's voice filled the bridge now, speaking aloud so everyone could hear its ancient wisdom. "For 50,000 years I have maintained these systems in hibernation. Today they will awaken to serve their original purpose once more." Zexhai's crystal form flashed with rapid calculations. The power requirements for such a network would require tapping directly into stellar cores. "How is this possible?" "The predecessors learned to work with forces beyond current understanding," Navigator replied. "They built their technology not to dominate nature, but to become part of it." Outside, the first of the military ships had entered firing position. Amanda could see weapon ports opening on the shadow vessel, while Bruthen and Viridian ships moved to flank Horizon's edge from different angles. "Dr. Carter," Admiral Kane's voice crackled through the communication system, "you need to evacuate that ship immediately. We are detecting massive power buildups that could indicate a self-destruct sequence." Amanda placed her hands on the command chair's interface panels, feeling the ship's systems responding to her touch. "Navigator, if I activate the network with the modification I am thinking of, will it work?" "Explain your modification," the AI requested, though Amanda could feel its curiosity and hope through their mental connection. "Instead of keying the systems to respond only to me, I want to program them to recognize any human who demonstrates the wisdom and courage that the predecessors valued." Make it so that worthy humans can access the technology, but only if they prove themselves through their choices and actions. Navigator processed this request with the speed of advanced artificial intelligence, running thousands of simulations in the space of a heartbeat. It is possible, the AI finally said, but it requires a sacrifice from you. You must give up exclusive control and trust that future generations will be worthy of their inheritance. That is exactly what I want, Amanda replied, feeling a sense of rightness settle over her decision. She pressed her palms against the interface panels and felt the ship's power flow through her consciousness. The activation sequence began, sending signals to hidden installations across the galaxy. One by one, ancient systems came online after millennia of waiting. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Defense platforms around vulnerable worlds activated their shields. Deep space monitoring stations began scanning for extragalactic threats, and weapon systems that could crack planets powered up from their long slumber. On the bridge of Horizon's edge, holographic displays showed the network coming alive. Points of light appeared on star charts as predecessor installations revealed themselves to their human inheritors. Impossible, Zexhai chimed, crystal form blazing with shocked colors. There are installations in our home system that we never detected. How long have they been there? Since your people first learned to reach for the stars, Navigator replied. The predecessors have been protecting you for thousands of years, waiting for this moment. Outside, the approaching military fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by ships that dwarfed their own vessels. Predecessor vessels materialized out of what had seemed empty space, their hulls gleaming with the same black metal as Horizon's edge. "This is Admiral Kane to all vessels," came the transmission from the human fleet. "Stand down immediately. Whatever you are seeing, those ships have not shown hostile intent." But the shadow vessel was already firing, its weapons designed specifically to penetrate predecessor defenses. The dark energy beam struck Horizon's edge's shields and simply vanished, absorbed harmlessly by technology that had been created to fight enemies far more dangerous than any current galactic race. Amanda stood up from the command chair and walked to the communication station. She opened channels to all the ships in the system, her voice carrying to beings across dozens of different species. "I am Dr. Amanda Carter of the Human Archaeological Expedition," she began, her words being translated instantly into hundreds of languages. "What you are seeing is not an invasion or a grab for power. It is the awakening of a legacy that belongs to all of us." The holographic displays around her showed images of the ancient past, predecessors working alongside the early ancestors of every major galactic race. She let them see the truth about humanity's origins and the sacrifice that had saved all their civilizations. "The predecessors were our ancestors," she continued, "but they were also your teachers and protectors. They helped your peoples learn to reach the stars, and when the greatest threat this galaxy has ever known came to destroy all life, they gave up everything to save you." The shadow ship fired again, but this time 3 predecessor vessels moved to intercept. The ancient ships did not return fire, but their shields absorbed the attack so completely that the shadow weapons simply ceased to exist. "But that threat is returning," Amanda said, her voice carrying across the growing fleet of awakened ships. "The Devourers will come again, and when they do, we will need to stand together as our ancestors did." Navigator's voice joined hers, speaking directly to the minds of every being in the system. "The network is active, but it will not serve conquest or domination. It exists only to protect life and defend the innocent. Those who would use it for evil will find it deaf to their commands." Ben had moved to another control station, his scientific mind racing to understand the technology around him. "Amanda, I am reading energy signatures from installations in over 300 star systems. The network is vast beyond anything we imagined." Katie was studying tactical displays that showed the defensive capabilities now available to the galaxy. These systems could stop any invasion, defend any world. But they will only respond to humans, and only to those who prove themselves worthy. Thorak approached one of the weapon control stations, but it remained dark under his touch. "The ship no longer responds to me as it did before," he observed without anger. "It recognizes that I am not of the bloodline." "But you are still welcome here," Amanda assured him. "The predecessors valued all life, and their technology is meant to protect everyone in the galaxy." The communications channels were alive with chatter, as representatives from across the galactic community tried to understand what was happening. Some voiced anger at being excluded from the ancient technology, while others expressed gratitude for the protection it offered. "This changes everything," Admiral Kane transmitted from his flagship. "The balance of power in the galaxy has shifted completely." "No," Amanda replied, feeling Navigator's agreement flow through her mind. "The balance has been restored. Humanity is not claiming dominion over other races. We are accepting responsibility for the legacy our ancestors left us." She looked out at the stars visible through the bridge's viewing ports, seeing them now as her ancestors had seen them, not as territory to be conquered, but as a garden to be tended and protected. "The Devourers will come," she said, addressing not just the ships around her, but the entire galaxy, listening to the transmission. "When they do, we will be ready. The network will defend all life in this galaxy, just as the predecessors intended." Navigator's ancient voice carried one final message to the assembled fleet. "The long waiting is over. The children of Earth have reclaimed their heritage, and the galaxy will never face the darkness alone again." Amanda felt the AI's presence settle into a new configuration in her mind. No longer the desperate guardian of forgotten secrets, but the partner of a species ready to fulfill its destiny. Around her, the bridge hummed with purpose as Horizon's Edge took its place at the center of a defensive network that spanned the galaxy. The stars waited, beautiful and eternal, ready to witness humanity's return to its role as the galaxy's protectors.